Here we go. And we're in. Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast. I'm Jake. This is Killian Moon. We are at Space City Tattoo Expo. You know what I screw up the most? Whatever comes after the name of the thing. So if it's like Tattoo and Arts Convention or Tattoo Expo or Tattoo whatever, they're all different. If you pay attention,
it's called TatCon. It's cool.
Oh yeah, the Space
all of
City
them. They're all
TatCon.
TatCons.
That's good. I can pull yeah. Speaking of TatCons, that what you were what we were just talking about, Hell City TatCon, and how you whenever you're in especially the Columbus Hell City TatCon, when you're in the B team room, like the room with fluorescent lights and stuff, you're like, man, that other room's got chandeliers and red velvet and everything's going on.
But you can't see shit.
Yeah, but you can't see anything. Then you get in there and you're like, oh, this sucks. It's pitch black.
If you're like terribly prepared, like I am,
yeah,
you have no lights. You're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be right now. Fuck it, it's fine. I'm just gonna fly as light as I can.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yep. I actually bought this light behind us. I bought it at that show. I wanted to get something that folded up because I was like, I have to have a light. And they had sold out of all what are they, glam cores or whatever? They had sold out of anything like that would package up.
Yeah.
And all they had was this thing, which doesn't. It's just like my homeland. I only take it to shows that we drive to now. That's because you can't pack it.
I mean, well, if you're driving to a show, it's way better.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we can actually take things.
Yeah.
Like a massage table.
Yeah.
Instead of having to be an asshole and just like rip your table apart.
Right.
And they're just like, yeah, no, it's cool. Picnic table will hold you. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So much better. We're trying to do more shows that we drive to. We've flown to too many. It's tough with podcast stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are for those who don't know, give us. I know you're tattooing at Aiken Dagger down in Roswell, Georgia. We've been there a handful of times, and we've actually podcasted there with a handful of people.
Oh, cool.
But the whole crew is different since we've been there, I think.
Whole new crew, yeah. For the most part, whole new crew.
Yeah. How did you end up there? And what were you doing before? Where were you before?
Well, I started tattooing in Honduras. I tattooed there, or scratched there, to be honest, for like about, I didn't even know. My math is not good. A bunch of years.
Yeah.
A lot of years. And then I moved, I guess it must have been like 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years I tattooed there. And then I moved to Costa Rica for the next 6 years.
Oh, okay.
And then 2 years ago, I moved to Atlanta. Russ offered me a job, and, I took it. Fuck it.
Yeah,
You know?
So what?
Roll the dice.
Those have to be really different tattoo climates, huh? To tattoo in?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different. It's a completely different beast. Especially, like, the clientele is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
There's no super hella pale people out in, like, the third world, like, tropical countries.
Mm-hmm.
We import you guys.
Yeah.
But they're not naturally occurring.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
So it makes tattooing, like, different,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting aspect. I noticed this is one of the more, here at Space City, is one of the more diverse conventions that we do. It's got, they bring in, there's a lot of like African-American tattooers, there's a lot of Hispanic tattooers, and just seeing the difference in the approaches to tattooing, and honestly, in like the work ethic, a lot of times, some of these like Spanish tattooers that are, I don't know if they're here this year.
We work harder than anyone else.
Holy
like
shit,
that
dude.
is like a good stereotype to have.
They're tattooing at like 8 a.m. and they're tattooing it.
We don't fuck around.
Yeah,
we get shit done.
They're doing full sleeves and stuff.
Yeah, because we're trying to get shit done.
Right.
That's the work ethic. Latinos like just work harder. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's true. They prove it here. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it is interesting. It is interesting to just like see it, because like I'm used to doing like a certain type of conventions. Like, I've done like conventions in the East Coast, and it usually ends up being like, like not a very diverse crowd. Like, I'm actually very impressed with like, like there's a lot of like black clientele here, which I find interesting. I didn't know Alabama was like, that way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't either until I started coming to this show. And and Huntsville is a little bubble in Alabama. First off, it's like Austin was years ago in Texas, where you're just like, how did this place end up in the middle of Texas? Huntsville seems to be like it's a technology hub. There's defense.
Yeah, why do they have NASA here? Out of all places, they're just like, fuck it, we'll put it in Alabama.
Right.
Good enough for NASA.
I don't know, but there's a lot of like retired rocket scientists and stuff still running around this place, and defense contractors and stuff like that.
You know what places all the weird like that? Ohio.
Yeah.
Dayton has like hella like Ohio has like this huge like airspace like
Really?
history. Yeah, flight like aerospace like there's a lot of like technology there. Like Dayton has the National Air Force Museum,
Oh yeah.
which is dope as fuck.
Huh.
Especially if you're into like like I'm really into biomech.
Yeah.
So like I was just like out there looking at like engines and shit,
Yeah.
and it was like a fantastic experience. Free.
Huh? Really?
Free.
No
Largest
kidding.
Air Force museum in the country. Free.
Oh, I had no idea. The Dayton Flyers. That's their college team. The Flyers is the name of their team. I had no idea there was so much, but that makes sense.
I mean,
Why they
I
do the
think like
Flyers.
first flight was in Columbus. I
that's
don't. I have no idea.
That's North Carolina. That's the
Was it?
Wright brothers. Yeah, because their license plate says first in flight.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
My
But I
geography
mean-
might be wrong.
All right, but still, obviously, there's something to it because the Dayton's college team are the Dayton Flyers, and I never knew why that was. So, interesting little fact.
I think it's like one of these like flat states. There's like, well, let's look up. Fuck
Yeah,
it. There's
right.
nothing around.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just look up to the stars. Figure that one out.
So your approach that's an interesting thing that you brought up. Your approach. How did your approach change from tattooing? What I'm just gonna guess like 90% darker complected people to tattooing a lot of white people in Atlanta. Did your style or anything change significantly? Did your approach to tattooing change?
Well, you know what? It's funny because like like I used to even when I was living in Costa Rica and living in Honduras, like I used to travel a lot. Like I've been traveling nonstop for like the last like decade.
Yeah.
For the most part, I've been really adamant about like going out and seeing shit. Like I'm not complacent at all. I need to see everything. So every time I went out of the country and I was like tattooing in fucking Norway,
Yeah.
people were like, oh, your tattooing looks so great. Oh my God, it's so bright. And I'm like, no, I'm doing the same thing. I just, like it's just like slightly more noticeable because skin tone is not necessarily a factor.
Yeah.
It's not affecting my color choices. It's not affecting my contrast. It's not affecting anything that I do. It's just like actually showing like my full artistic capabilities. But honestly, like I think like, if contrast is a constant regardless of skin tone. So if you can do it in one, you should theoretically be able to do it in the other.
Yeah.
Like to an extent, like the lighter complexions are a little bit easier, but you also have to do so much more work
Right.
towards them. Darker
Yeah.
complexions, like to me, easier. There's
Really.
less work that actually goes in there because your midtones are already there. You don't have to do much with highlights. Like the actual workload is smaller. However, the thought process is a lot bigger.
Yeah, that's the trade-off, right? Yeah, because the design has to be more simplified in order to read on the skin, right?
Yeah, depending on how dark you go.
Right. Which means that your decisions in value and shape and all that have to be correct, right? I mean, you don't have any room to kind of screw around with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I have a thing with. I always explain to my clients, just like especially like the ones with darker complexion, like I don't want you to be like, those basketball players that like should have all the money in the world, but they make some questionable choices in like design work, and like you can't see shit, you can't understand like like what some of these sleeves are, and I'm only using that as an example because they're very visible, but nobody gives a shit. That's the problem. Nobody like takes skin tone as a place to start your design. Like they just like, fuck it, I'll just do it. Like they don't take the visibility, especially with darker complexions. You need to take. I would like my tattoo to be seen from across the room, and that's kind of hard to do if you don't know what you're doing.
Right. So that leads me into, we're both teaching seminars this weekend, and yours kind of focuses on this subject, does it not?
Well, I've been focusing on like skin tone and how it affects contrast and color for a very, very long time, like years even. Mostly because like it's the same thing. Like I went out of the country, and they were like, "Oh, it looks so great," and then I have to go back and reproduce those same colors. I have to reproduce that same contrast, that same value, but I have to reproduce it with challenges in my way.
Yeah.
How do I do that? How do I trick the eye into seeing what I want it to see?
Yeah. Yeah.
it's one of those things that maybe people have like a set clientele, like like if you're tattooing in, I don't know, Sweden, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of need because like your clientele is gonna be very similar
Mhm.
altogether.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Are you basing those decisions on? Obviously, you're basing them on the value of the skin, like how dark or light it is. Are you also basing it on the color of the skin? You have people who really lean towards greens, people who really lean towards reds.
I am. Well, the temperature of the skin can also affect your color choices because
Sure.
like certain colors won't show through certain warmths. Like me, even though I'm on the lights, like on the light side of Latino, like and I'm straight up from the third world.
Yeah.
I have like my parents are both Latinos. Like I'm not mixed at all.
Mhm.
Like I still have a complexion that might not necessarily be adequate for like yellow tones, for example, because my skin tone already has all that yellow. It has all that warmth. So certain color choices might not necessarily be adequate for me.
Yeah.
So uh, the color warmth like goes throughout the spectrum. Like one of the things that I recently came across, like when I restructured my seminar, because this is like I'm doing a seminar tomorrow, and it's the first time I've done it outside of Latin America,
Oh.
and I have to like restructure the whole thing. And I've talked to a few different artists, and like even like within like the Black community, like like there are certain like the skin doesn't necessarily, it's not like all just like straight up brown, it has like a yellowish complexion, like light skinned people with yellow, like light skin, like Black people with yellowish complexion to their skin, or like more of a warmer complexion. It's
Yeah.
and some of these people, like like someone that might be like of a of they might be Black, but they might not necessarily be, like there might be a white person that might be darker than them.
Yeah.
Like sun exposure is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel like you've come up with? I mean, you obviously you're teaching this in a seminar format, so you have some ideas on how this works. But do you feel like you have a predictable kind of process, and what color, what tattoos are going to heal like within obviously a certain range, what they're going to heal like when you look at a person? You can say, I know the color choices I'm going to make based on that skin tone, based on the value and temperature of their skin, and I have a pretty good idea of what the outcome is going to be and how it's going to age over time.
Well, yeah, I mean it's very predictable. It's very like skin, while a shitty medium to work in. Let's be honest, it's very predictable if you understand what the hues are and what like what your skin is. It's like I know that someone with a yellowish complexion is not going to show yellow. I know that someone with like a more like caramel golden kind of tone, like it's also not going to show yellow very well. I know that someone that like, for example, on me, blues, like a baby blue, heals slightly towards teal.
Yeah.
That's something that like it's just additive color theory. Like it's blue plus yellow, it's green. And like if I was like a couple of shades darker, it'll look greener.
Right.
It's very predictable to that sense, and you can make choices based more so on like the contrast of the heel color rather than the color of the bottle, which is in my mind smarter.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I asked that question because I can remember several years back doing a large color piece on a girl who I think, if I'm not wrong, she's Italian, so she's darker complected, darker
Has that like
hair,
olive skin
and kind of olivey skin.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime when I did it, she wasn't super olivey. She was obviously Italian, but I did a lot of I mean, obviously darker complected than me, but I couldn't tell exactly what. And I did a lot of it's basically they call it mint green and eternal or whatever. But I did a lot of water that had that kind of like light, that kind of light turquoisey mint green color.
Yeah.
And it looked fine. And then whenever I saw her in the summer, it looked dingy to me, like it was almost browned. And I was like, oh, I made some bad color choices based on her.
Well,
skin
I mean,
tone.
like your ink is sitting here,
Under the
your
skin.
melanin is sitting here.
Right.
That's like melanin is just like created by UV exposure. So it sits on top of it and it acts as a filter.
Right. So
You
you're
know?
looking through a dirty window at the
It's
image.
like you saw that. Did you see that like fucking picture of that guy that burned off like part of his tattoo on his hand?
No.
Yeah, it's just like it's this old ass tattoo. Somebody like he burnt it against something, and like the hole that it left, it was like a blue rose, and it looked like dusty, like kind of like tealish color, like on the outside, and then like the inside, like the part was like fresh, like the skin had been peeled off, baby blue.
Really?
Perfect.
Wow.
Just like fully saturated baby blue straight out of the bottle.
Wow. Where did
It's
you see
because
this? What's that?
it went out on like Ink Magnet, like
okay.
all like the tattoo
Yeah.
like
I
Instagrams or
missed
whatever
that.
reposted.
Yeah.
But it's just that. It's just like all you're doing is removing the filter. Whatever tone they put in there, it hasn't actually changed.
Yeah.
It's just you're just seeing it through a different filter.
Absolutely. Right.
So I'm sure that girl, when she got back into the winter stage,
then it looked,
the color looked fine.
Yeah, probably so. And I think that's an important point to make, is that whatever we do, and that is the reason that tattoos look so clean and poppy when they're fresh, and why they look settled when they heal, is because you're essentially, I try to explain to my clients where I say, well, I can hold this, I have a painting that has a lot of red in my studio. I say I can hold the painting in front of you right now, and that's a really saturated cadmium red. But if I took it outside of my window with tinted glass, suddenly that tinted glass really affects the intensity of that red, and that's essentially what's happening in your tattoo.
It's a contrast. It's basic contrast, you know, like whatever you're seeing around it, it's going to affect like how you perceive that color.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be less of that color, you know?
Yeah, you just perceive it as less. It has to pass through the filter of the tinted window of the skin.
Exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you're into like biomech and bioorganic, and I just happened to notice last week or two ago that you had done a collaborative piece with Guy Aitchison, which was a shit ton of work in 2 days.
I'm surprised he didn't die.
Oh,
honestly,
my God.
I don't know how he didn't die. Like,
how did he
made
sit?
it like a fucking rock.
That's incredible.
Ridiculous.
That's incredible.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Was that your first collaboration with Guy?
That collaboration, I guess it's a 2-part collab, because we did the painting first. We actually never expected to tattoo this. I never did. But he reached out to me, and he was like, hey, man, you want to like do a thing? Like, we've met like several times before. And he was like, let's do a painting together. Let's fucking do it. Whatever. And we went back and forth. Like, he sent me a sketch. I refined it. He I sent it back, and he refined it, and then like he sent me a canvas with it, and then like I did a first layer, sent it back. We sent it back a couple of times, and then we came up with this painting. And then like I guess some dude, Jared, he looked at it, and he was like, "That's tight. I want that."
Wow.
And he just reached out to both of us, and it just kind of happens. But good luck is like kind of my staple, so it's on brand for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it was so much work. So that you answered some of my questions in the preparatory side of it, that you guys had already kind of developed the whole thing as a painting.
The hard work was done, which is amazing. Because like, you imagine having to like do that in person with Guy Aitchison, the guy who was Guy,
right?
You know, it's a little bit nerve wracking. I mean, like like I'm glad that like we're homies now, and like like I can treat him like a regular person style. But
it's still it's you walk into that studio for the first time, and you're like, holy shit, man! I know of this place. It's crazy to be here.
I mean, it's I'm very proud of that moment. I'm very proud of like like being in that sort of circle at this point. But like I've been also trying to make this move happen. Fuck, when was the last Paradise Gathering?
Oh, wow.
That's when I met him, and I've been trying to do this since.
Ever since, wow. Well, good stick-to-itiveness, I guess, then. It paid
I mean, passively.
Yeah. What, if anything, did you, I'm sure you took some things from his process, his approach. And I've never tattooed with him, but I have sat over his shop. We've spent a couple of days at a time at his shop, and I've watched tattoos develop, so I know his process pretty well. What, if anything, did you learn in the process of working alongside of him, or were you just focused on your job in the tattoo?
Well, I think because we had already done the painting, it was a little bit easier, so I didn't necessarily have to like accommodate myself too much. Like, we already had a game plan. It was like not that hard to figure out. We just had to like be like, all right, well, I guess this color goes here. But this dude's back was massive.
Yeah, it's a big guy.
So like we were at times we were both like, I don't know, trust the stencil, dude. Go,
Yeah.
just keep going. It was an interesting process. Like, his setup is like very particular, as you might have noticed. And the way that he handles clients as well, especially for these multi-day sessions, because like that's kind of his shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of his MO at this point. And it's interesting how he handles clients and like how he makes them sit. Like, we used a lot of Bactine for this. But also, we just happened to look out that we had a client that would sit that long. We must have done a combined like 20 plus hours.
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere between 20 to 25 hours combined in like, 2 days.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because we were both tattooing most of the time.
Yeah.
It was mostly tag team.
Rarely traded off on it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wild.
Yeah. What, if I flip through your page like I did earlier, there's no one set thing that you tend to gravitate towards. I mean, you're into bioorganic or biomech, I know, but there's a lot of stuff that you do that's not at all related to that.
I'm into getting paid.
Ah, yeah.
This is a service.
Right.
This is a fucking service, man.
Yeah.
A lot of these tattooers are all about like, like sucking their own dick.
Yeah.
Getting their egos out of the way. But honestly, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's not that important. It's just pictures on skin, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my thing is, like, I grew up in a street shop in the third world where, like, you work or you don't eat, which is, like, fair, likely a scenario with a lot of shops still.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what I learned out of that is just, like, I cannot say no. I can say no out of ego, but I cannot say no out of not knowing how to do it. I need to know how to do it. So I do everything.
Yeah.
It makes for better business, I think.
Absolutely. And and you definitely learn more and expand your skill set that way faster than you ever would by honing in on one particular.
I mean, Japanese is gonna teach you shit that like fine line like Chicano work won't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Did I see when I was flipping through? I flipped to a couple. It was either you or what's the guys? Who's the other person for Aiken Dagger?
Matt Brumelo.
Matt Brumelo. Yeah. One of you guys were doing. There was a video of a lot of hand lettering. That might have been you. Did you do
that was me for our Valentine's Day
that's what
promotion.
it was.
We're doing script for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I never got into tattooing lettering myself. I'm terrible at making lettering. I just have never practiced it. But I'm mesmerized by watching people who do it well. Like, I can just watch videos of people.
There's something about it. I don't know. Like, I only did that, honestly. It was a business move.
Yeah.
I did that video because I know that people fucking dig that shit. There's something about it. Girl sent me nudes for it.
Sweet.
So there's something about it. There's something about it. Yeah.
Oh, because it was Valentine's, so they were.
It was
no.
I did a Valentine's one and then I did another one because I was like, fuck it. Tattooing is super serious business to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, I'll make another one. I'll just like put like send nudes.
Oh.
And like, because it was on Valentine's Day, so I figured like, here, have something to send your girl. Fuck it, send her a booty call.
Right.
Treat her nice. Send her a video.
They took it literally and sent them to you.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard job, but somebody's got to do it.
Right. So how did you become? I mean, I assume it's the same as everything else. How you became proficient in lettering? It's just something that you knew was.
I had to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm great at lettering. I'm okay at lettering.
I just saw the one video, but it looked like you really were deliberate and knew exactly what you were doing.
Yeah. How many takes do you think that took?
Right. Yeah.
You know better. You know this shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily come very natural. I had to do a lot of takes of that shit.
Yeah.
I faked it to look like it was like, oh yeah, no, I'm whatever. But like that's part of marketing. People don't see the effort they put behind shit. People don't know how many fucking like gadgets you got here,
right?
And all this thing, like it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's true. It's a lot. So that's a good segue. Speaking of marketing, you have moved on from third world shop tattooing to a shop that arguably does some of the best marketing for itself of any shop in America. I mean, Aiken Dagger is a brand that people recognize. What was that transition like for you?
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I work for Russ Abbott.
Yeah.
And he runs a pretty tight fucking ship.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is easy. Honestly, working at that shop is like the easiest time I ever had. Like, like I don't have to do much for it. Like the shop works like clockwork,
Yeah.
and I appreciate the fuck out of it. Like they do the marketing, like they do like the booking, they do all the things. Honestly, very spoiled.
Yeah.
Very spoiled. If I ever have to work by myself, I'm gonna be like, oh, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah. I came and tattooed there several years back, and
You should
I
come
remember.
again.
Yeah. I talked to Russ not too long. Last time I saw Russ, I was like, I want to come, and I'd love to come tattoo again. But I'd also love to come and set up and just podcast for a few days too in the shop. We did that some too. But I remember walking in and just seeing all of the little, like the plates on the wall with the Wi-Fi password, or the first time I walked into the supply room and I was like, oh, they don't run out of shit here. Everything is here.
I've never, and I've been going to Aiken Dagger for like 4 years.
Yeah.
But working there for like 2 years. I've never had once to say, hey, we don't got gloves, which is a very common phrase in tattoo shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't got gloves. Never. He does a great job, like our support staff, honestly, which they do the best job possible. And like I think like this is something that like bothers me a little bit about like tattooing. Like tattooers tend to be like fucking assholes to counter staff for the most part, and they don't really realize that they are our backbone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Treat your fucking support staff nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the guy that was there when I was there last is not there anymore. I think his name was Will. Does that sound right? Will,
yeah.
And he was fantastic. He walked me through every step of the way from the time that we booked the guest spot until I left the place, basically, and I mean, and it was.
I stayed at Will's house when I was the guest spotting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's that involved.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, they do a great job, and I feel like this is we just did a podcast recently. Our last podcast maybe was with Kelly Severson. Do you know him?
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about Russ.
Yeah, Kelly's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he's a great dude. But my point with that is I feel like we've talked about Russ on a handful of episodes in a row. So Russ, if you want to sponsor an episode, be fantastic. I mean, I feel like you've already sponsored an episode. You just haven't written that check yet, right? No, I love Russ. We got him on the show early on. He was one of in our first 50 episodes or something like that. Russ came on, and it was when he was just putting the color wheel out, and he invited us out. We podcasted at the shop. And he was fantastic, and he helped us to promote the episode and helped us get on our feet and stuff at that point. So I really I appreciate him, helping us out back then. So you're working there. How often are you still traveling?
Very.
All the time.
Yeah.
And they're supportive of that at the shop.
My current nightmare is twice a month, which can be draining.
That's a lot.
But I also demand a lot about myself. So luckily, like we are in a 12-person shop. So like I feel like sometimes one person's absence is not necessarily as noticeable as like when you're working in a 3-person shop, so that allows me a lot of like liberty to like just travel around, but also like it's just like the support of like Russ is just he's done the same thing, like so he understands, he gets it, he gets that you have to be out here doing the thing, like there's some shop owners out there that like they're like, oh no, you got to stay here and make the money, and like I while it is an economic responsibility of the artist to like help out the shop, it doesn't necessarily allow for a lot of growth.
I completely agree. I think a lot of shops who when the shop owner has never traveled, or they just come from a time in tattooing where you didn't travel, where there weren't 10 conventions every weekend, and it just was never something that they made a priority. What they're losing by their artists not going out and doing this, talking to other artists, seeing what's happening in the world, and bringing that back to the shop, it's so much more expensive than it's so much more expensive to lose that than it is just I'm saying that weird. Having them at the shop costs more than it does to the shop's long-term productivity than it does to send them out here to learn things and bring back to the shop.
Yeah, every time you go out and learn a thing, you're gonna be better at your job, which in turn turns into revenue. Long term, it turns into revenue for the shop. If you're better at your job, you can charge more. If you're faster at your job, you'll be more efficient. You'll be more booked out. You know, like
Yeah.
it's part of that long term view that like I've known certain shop owners to have that like mentality that like they can't see that long game, and I think that is very important.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that we're working where I'm at. So
Absolutely. What about the town of Roswell? It's not we always when I went there for the first time I thought it was Atlanta. It's not really Atlanta at all. Yeah.
Well,
Seems a little to be desired.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Anything in Atlanta, it doesn't matter if you're downtown or the outskirts.
Yeah.
Anything's gonna be taking you 30 minutes to get there.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
So I live in the outskirts of Atlanta. Work on the outskirts of Atlanta, but like honestly, it's like a 30-minute drive from like downtown Atlanta to our shop.
Oh, okay.
30-minute drive. It's gonna be the same drive everywhere. So I don't feel it affects that much. I do see that we are in a little bit of a more like upscale suburban area, which like shit, I can't complain.
Yeah.
I cannot complain. It's just tips are better.
Yeah. Do you? I'm sure that's true. And I'll wrap it up here in a minute. How long are we on this show? Okay, that's
Oh
not bad.
shit, that went by fast.
Yeah.
All
I've
right.
learned to ask early because I do sometimes look up and we're like an hour, and I don't mind going long. And I know there's some long form, whatever you call that,
Long format or whatever.
format podcasts out there. Like Joe Rogan does 3-hour shows. But
I can't pay attention that long.
Yeah, I trail off, and I noticed that our viewers would start to die off at 20, 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
if you look
it's
at YouTube
2000s.
analytics.
It's
People
2020,
can't do it.
dude. Like
People
I
can't
can't
do it.
keep like. I'm surprised I kept my attention this long.
Yeah,
honestly.
well, you've done great. You've really done a great job. Do you still have a lot of family? And tell me again, Honduras?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. All my family's there.
Yeah.
I don't have anyone in this country.
Really?
Pretty much, but it is what it is.
Do you get back there often?
I go back to Costa Rica a lot. Honduras,
Okay.
not so much, because it's not necessarily the most popular tourist destination. Flights are hella expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But it is what it is, man. I try to go out there, when I can.
Yeah. Do you tattoo when you go back to either of those places? Not really.
I tattoo in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily tattoo in Honduras, just because I also haven't tattooed there in 8 years. So
Yeah.
I don't. If I'm gonna make all the way out there, I'd rather just hang out.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Is there a big? I keep confusing. At first, I was thinking that Yalzi and Phibbs show was Costa Rica, but that's Puerto Rico.
That's Puerto Rico.
Where-
Yeah.
Is there a big show in Costa Rica?
There used to be 2 conventions in Costa Rica, but due to some unfortunate events,
Just doesn't happen.
yeah, it's become outlawed.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
somehow the government figured out that maybe opening skin in a public scenario was not in their best interest.
Okay.
So they decided to just not allow tattoo conventions anymore. It's really a shame because honestly, the Costa Rican convention was by far the best convention in Latin America.
Really?
And I've done the research. I've done the legwork. It was by far the best. Costa Rica has an amazing tattoo culture. It's it's still cool. You
Yeah.
know? It's still when tattoo shops started popping out everywhere
Yeah.
and there was money to go around,
Yeah.
but it hasn't reached that fucking bullshit California standard where all right, there's 5 tattoo shops in this block.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still in that
Yeah.
good spot.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate that they lost that.
Yeah, but you can still travel there. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, I'll hook you up.
Yeah.
My
yeah,
boys
that's
at Cellular's Grave, they'll take you.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. So if people want to get in touch with you, get tattooed, the best way is what?
The best way to get tattooed by me is probably the Aiken Dagger website because it's fully
Right.
automated.
Automated, yeah.
And our front desk takes care of them. They'll get all the information from you, and then I'll have a consultation with people, and it's fucking fantastic. It's easy.
Yeah. And if you are traveling to someone's town and they want to book with you wherever that is, what's the best way?
Probably Instagram.
Yeah.
I check Instagram the most. I try to travel quite a bit. I'm actually going to. I'm doing after this. I'm doing New Orleans. Ohio.
Oh,
I'm doing Costa Rica next month.
okay.
I'm doing Norway in May.
Oh, wow.
I might do Switzerland because I'm already in Europe, so fuck
Yeah.
it, might as well get a
Yeah.
close enough.
Do you have contacts out there already, or do you just kind of go out and figure it out when you get there?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about guest spots, man. People don't really realize this. Tattooers don't really realize it. But if you go out to any country and figure out which are the good tattoo shops where you want to work, and just send them an email and just be like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna be in your town this and this date. Can I tattoo there real quick, just in case?
Yeah.
Let's check it out." A lot of times people will say yes.
Yeah.
So you don't have to know anyone.
Yeah.
As long as your work backs it up, like you can just tattoo anywhere you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are wise words, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah, just gotta fucking like have the balls to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That is the difference. That's a good way to leave it, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, good luck on your seminar
right.
tomorrow. I hope we both knock it out of the park. We're good.
Yeah.
I know we're going to. I feel good about it. So
Yeah, I mean,
So-
hopefully. Yeah.
I hope so.
Good luck to you too.
Thank you. Thanks to our buddy Shaquem and Space City Tattoo Expo, or Space City TatCon. Is that what we're calling them? TatCon.
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Is that what you said?
TatCon?
TatCon, yeah. Space City TatCon. And keep up with us at firesidetattoo.com, and follow us where you follow people. Take her easy. Hey, thanks again for watching. If you haven't already, we ask that you would subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with new episodes. Also, if you've gotten any value out of our show at all, we would be honored if you would buy us a beer at our Patreon link. And finally, if you'd like to visit our website and sign up for our newsletter, you can find out where we are going, if we're going to be in a town near you, maybe tatting at a convention or something like that. And while you're there, you can pick up some Fireside merchandise like a new t-shirt or a hoodie or a coffee mug. Thanks again.